Hello, welcome to Intro to Public Services Customer Service module. I'm Nancy Medema, the Program Director for the Library Support Network at the State Library and your instructor for today's course. Here are the objectives we'd like you to get out of this session. We want you to be able to explain the importance of providing excellent customer service in libraries, to be able to describe the difference between customer service skills and customer service principles and how both impact the library. We'd like you to be able to describe what a customer service statement is and why it's important to have one, and to be able to explain the importance of diversity and inclusion in customer service. I love this quote. "The America I love still exists at the front desk of our public libraries," by Kurt Vonnegut. This really speaks to what we do in libraries and where those interactions take place. So customer service is kind of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together with one person or with a group of people. There are a lot of pieces involved, and you need to be able to find the right combination of skills, principles, and interactions to get to the successful solution. You might make a couple of missteps along the way, but the more you know about how it should look, the easier it becomes. Let's take a look at the various parts. What is customer service, and why is it important in libraries? So one definition. Customer service is the act of taking care of the customer's needs by providing and delivering professional, helpful, high-quality service and assistance before, during, and after the customer's requirements are met. Customer service is meeting the needs and desires of any customer. That one is from study.com. You also want to remember that customer service isn't only important to our patrons, but also with those we work with. Known as internal customer service, it is just as important to make sure we treat coworkers and vendors and anybody we come in contact with in a polite, courteous, and helpful manner. Here's a mnemonic that describes customer service well. Has all of the important parts. Here's another definition. The act of providing timely, empathetic help that keeps the customer's needs at the forefront of every interaction. It gives customers a complete, cohesive experience that aligns with an organization's purpose. That definition is from helpscout.com. So basically, good customer service is building good relationships with your patrons, no matter who they are. Remember that patrons, no matter how small your community, are choosing to visit your library, and they have customer service expectations from you just as they would if they went to a store. It's up to you to meet or exceed those expectations in order to build support and loyalty from the community. This loyalty and support impacts your library's budget moving forward. You need that community support. You don't want to have a frustrated patron or one that has a negative overall view of the library. Most of us think of customer service as a face-to-face interaction between two people. And while it is, there are also many other ways to positively impact customer service. All phone interactions are as important as in person, and sometimes harder because you can't read the patron's body language. The same for email and chat or text, which also adds the element of shortened speech patterns and abbreviations, making it doubly hard to read correctly. Ask questions to clarify their request if needed, so you provide them with exactly what they're looking for and don't end up going in circles. Then make sure your responses are polite and well-written and can't be misinterpreted. And it's not just the personal interaction that affects the outcome, but how easy it is to find something in the library. Are your signs easily seen and make sense to the patron? Are you using library jargon? Is your large print in the back corner making it harder for elderly patrons to access it? Are your policies overly restrictive, which requires you to endlessly explain the reasonings behind them? Also, patrons today expect convenience. Any waiting over 2 minutes is perceived as much longer, whereas anything under 2 minutes is perceived pretty accurately. Your response time becomes important, whether it's acknowledging the patron when they walk in or the time it takes you to find what they're looking for, such as a book or an answer. Just something to keep in mind. Why is it so important for public libraries to provide great customer service? After all, we aren't trying to make a profit like a business. As Hardy Franklin says, our customers are why libraries exist. Certainly our communities are why we exist. When you have great customer service in your library, your patrons will want to keep coming back and they become loyal to you. And make no mistake, they now have other options, such as buying materials on the internet, access to ebooks and e-audiobooks, online magazines and newspapers, and most will use Google to find answers to their questions. Patrons respond to good or great service by returning time and again, becoming a loyal library supporter, becoming a volunteer, voting for bond issues, speaking up when library services are threatened by budget cuts, advocating for better funding, and in lots of other ways. Patrons not only respond well to good service, they also respond to bad service, and not in the way we'd like. According to a study by dimensionalresearch.com in 2013, 95% of customers share bad experiences with others, and they remembered those bad experiences longer than a good experience. Social media now makes it much easier to share bad experiences too, so more people hear about them. In summary, what do most customers really want? They want someone to acknowledge their presence, be listened to and understood, be taken seriously, be respected, and someone to help them obtain what they want or need. So now that we know what customer service is, we need to dig a little bit deeper. Let's take a look at these differences and see how they work together. Customer service skills are behaviors you use when interacting with your patron. Your ability to effectively and positively use these skills are what determines the outcome of any patron interaction. You need to be able to communicate well, which includes active listening, timeliness, and reading physical and emotional cues. Customer service is often considered a soft skill, which means it includes traits like creativity, empathy, flexibility, and reading both verbal and nonverbal cues. Let's take a look at what those skills include. Active listening is really paying attention to what the patron is saying and not trying to think of how you're going to respond. You'll miss important clues to the real issue. Conflict resolution. This would take an entire webinar to cover, or more than one, but having some ability to resolve issues is important. Empathy, the ability to recognize and identify with what a person is feeling or experiencing, goes a long way toward understanding the real problem and getting to a solution or a fix. Patience. Sometimes the patron just needs to vent before they can get to the root of the issue, or they ask you to repeat things several times. Timeliness. Getting a solution in a timely manner is important. It doesn't have to be immediate, but don't procrastinate either. All of these are important, and your ability to develop and use them will only result in better service to your patrons, which also results in better community support. The definition of a principle is a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of beliefs or behavior, or for a chain of reasoning. And that's from Oxford Languages. Merriam-Webster defines it as a rule or a code of conduct. Similar to ethics, principles provide guidance in how to act and respond in good situations and in bad. Think of them as your guiding light, leading you to better interactions with your patrons and coworkers. Let's take a closer look at some of these. Listen and share feedback. Don't only do this when a patron complains. If you can ask questions to get to what patrons are looking for during positive conversations, then use that feedback to better services, all the better. It might solve potential issues before they happen with someone else. Active listening also helps to build trust and confidence that a resolution can be found. Be honest about what you don't know. Patrons can tell when you're not sure, so just admit it and promise to find out the correct answer and get back to them. Patrons will respect the fact that you're honest with them. Know your services and how they work. If you don't know how the technology in your library works, then you need to learn it, and quickly. There is nothing more frustrating than asking for help and that the staff can't assist on technology that they provide. If you have multiple staff, give them the authority to find solutions, even if it means waiving a policy or making an exception. This goes hand in hand with going the extra mile, and usually doesn't have negative repercussions. Treat every patron with respect. You don't have to call them ma'am or sir, but do realize that without them, you wouldn't have a job. This includes all ages, all ethnic groups, whether you know them or not. Yes, even the annoying patron. No exceptions. Smile and acknowledge the patron. Even if you're working with someone else, let them know you've seen them and will get to them as quickly as you can. Plus, a smile works wonders to alleviate tension and create a positive interaction. The big one, the customer isn't always right, but don't make them feel that they're wrong. They feel what they feel, so you need to acknowledge that and try to find a solution that works for everybody. This isn't the time to show off everything you know. You don't want to come across as patronizing. Take ownership of the situation. Don't pass the buck unless absolutely necessary, even when they stay connected to the problem and help find the solution. Follow up with the patron if possible. Go the extra mile. Ask if there's anything else the patron needs. Make sure they aren't leaving with something unresolved. I guess the golden rule applies here. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Always a good guiding principle. So you need to have both personal skills and organizational principles to ensure a good environment for being able to give great customer service to your patrons. So now let's look at what the customer service statement is. A customer service statement provides the basic service values of your library. It can be brief, user-focused, and inclusive. It explains how to meet the library's mission by meeting the patron's expectations. It can be part of your mission or vision statement, or it can be a standalone statement like a policy. It should be shared with your community, just like your mission statement is shared. It's the philosophy of the organization of what they believe good customer service is, written out. It lays out what type of service the library seeks to deliver to its patrons, from the library board to the library director to the staff. It provides guidance when questions arise as to how something should be resolved. The statement is used to help determine policies, similar to your mission statement, strategic goals, guidelines, or for staff. It can also be used to train and inform new staff on what expectations are in the delivery of service to the community. Here's a sample statement. It's not library related, but you kind of get the idea of what they're getting at. This one is perfect for libraries. Simple, yet it gets the meaning across. So diversity and inclusion. This is ALA's statement in the Library Bill of Rights. A person's right to use a library should not be denied or abridged because of origin, age, background, or views. Diversity and inclusion are a huge part of providing great customer service. You want to make sure you are being just as welcoming, courteous, and helpful to everyone who enters your library. Whether they're male or female, younger, teen, or older, able-bodied or not, of a different ethnicity, or any one of the various possibilities that exist. Pay attention to your voice, how loud you're talking, the speed of your talking, that kind of thing. Pay attention to your body language, how close you're standing to the person, are you relaxed, what is the look on your face? and pay attention to the thoroughness of your interaction. Are you cutting it short, doing everything you can to respond fully, that kind of thing? And while sometimes it's necessary to adapt your responses or reactions in a specific situation, you don't want to appear superior or condescending to the other patron. We all have inherent biases, so we want to be aware of them and not let them hinder our reactions or responses when we're interacting with someone different than ourselves. Inclusion can relate to things like scheduling programs at various times, so they aren't only available to retired citizens or to children who have a parent at home. It can also affect things like access. Does everyone have access to information available? Example, are there books or DVDs behind the counter that you have to ask for? Do you have materials with varying points of view on a subject? It also affects fairness. People are treated the same regardless of their status. No exceptions from rules for friends or relatives. Here's an example of that from my experience. I've been in customer service for close to 40 years. When I worked the circ desk at a library, I once had a legislator come up to me. He was not happy with the answer I gave him in response to his question. If I remember correctly, he had fines he thought they should be forgiven for him. He slammed his fist down on the counter and said, "Do you know who I am?" And I looked at him and smiled and said, "Yes, of course I do. But I also realize that because of your position, you should understand the importance of why we do charge fines and that it's important to pay them." He did. He might not have been happy or as happy about it afterwards than if I'd forgiven him. But I didn't want anyone else standing in line to hear that just because of who he was, he didn't have to follow the same policies as anyone else. So inclusion also relates to patron privacy. No staff gossiping about unpopular patrons or weird interactions, unless, of course, you're using it as a learning tool. So back to the imagery of a jigsaw puzzle. Now that you know the importance and various aspects involved in great customer service, it's easier to picture what the final result should look like and to ensure that your library is consistent in providing a welcoming, friendly, and helpful environment that is building strong community support. Here are some other resources that you might want to look into. You can find more information on the State Library of Iowa at statelibraryofiowa.org or the American Library Association at ala.org, and you could include in that the Public Library Association, especially since you're a public library. WebJunction at webjunction.org, where you'll find lots of free trainings, and they have many on customer service and on that dealing with conflict in customer service too. And then there's also many, many books in Iowa libraries that are available about customer service that you can get through interlibrary loan. Thank you.